Welcome back, everyone, to another postscript. Hope that you're still managing to enjoy bits and pieces of the summer, though, trust me, I know that our expectations for what will happen or should happen rarely align with what actually does happen. And so I hope through it all, you're managing to smile and find parts of your life for which to be grateful. We still have so much work to do in the world. As I look at the various Olympians competing and some of the excitement and enthusiasm around that, I'm also reminded of the painful reality that faces many regions of the world, including some of which we have mentioned. People that are living or trying to live in Palestine, people that are working to live in Sudan, areas of Sudan, Congo, Ukraine. I have found it perplexing at times to see athletes from these areas because I know that they carry with them such weight, and I'm in awe of their ability to compete at the highest level in spite of what I know must be great pain. And so I lift all of those athletes, those Olympians up who are carrying with them their country's hopes, even in the midst of war and isolation and fear. So as we couple that with our desire to find elements of joy this summer, I greet you with a kind of fullness of experience, which we try to embody here as the church. We say we bring joys and concerns because they never exist wholly apart. There will always be both joys and concerns. And so we name that here. This last Sunday, we tried to accomplish some of that. We gave a nod to the Emancipation Day festivities. We know Emancipation Day being August 1st, but being on a Sunday afternoon, there was a wonderful celebration at Fanshawe Village, just outside of the restored, formerly Fugitive Slave Chapel, which was a BME church, British Methodist Episcopal, and it served a number of those who were fleeing enslavement and captivity in the southern United States. So we're grateful to be participating in all these aspects of emancipation and hope. I tried to touch on some of the ways of thinking and acting that hold us hostage. I named them convention. You might prefer a different term, but I referred to convention as something that can be dangerous. It doesn't have to be, but it certainly can be. And what makes convention especially dangerous is the fact that we don't even realize that we're acting out of convention, that we are following rules that are not as hard and fast as we would perhaps like for them to be, or perhaps think they are. We find ourselves controlled by these programs, much like our computers are dictated by the software that we put onto them, right? We have software that we carry with us, and that software, these conventions or these forms of programming, can lead us down some pathways that we don't want to go down, and then we look back and we don't even realize how we got there. So in the gospel passage from which I preached, Jesus is dining at the house of a leper. And rather than focus on the broken bottle of perfume that allowed the woman to anoint Jesus, we know that story. It's a beautiful story and worthy of its own time and consideration. But I chose to focus on Jesus' decision to sit at the house of one that would have been labeled unclean. And I also spoke about this figure of Simon, who's kind of mysterious. Is Simon the leper also Simon the Pharisee? Perhaps. I suggested that we think of Simon in that way. Maybe Simon is a Pharisee at one point in his life, and as a result of this skin condition is alienated from his community, from his position, his office, his ability to lead and be with others. Perhaps some of his experience humbled him and allowed him to see the liberating nature of the gospel message, which so many people were still frightened of at the time. It's hard when you break with convention. It is really hard. and at times, maybe often, not even desirable to break with convention because we know the blowback that happens when we do. But I do believe at times God calls us precisely to be unconventional. Unconventional. See if I can say that word correctly. We are called to be unconventional or unprecedented because Jesus himself is unconventional and unprecedented so often and invites us to walk this path that has not been walked by as many as maybe we wish would. It's a hard path. It's full of joy, it's full of promise, it's full of hope and possibility, but it comes with difficulty. And much like the Olympians who are competing right now carry with them deep burdens, and they're having to break with certain conventions about not being quote unquote political, how can they not make statements in their position and using their platform to call for justice, to call for peace or a ceasefire? We too find ourselves in these difficult times, and we don't know which way to go always. And it's much easier to just go with convention, but I believe wholeheartedly that God calls us to break with convention in times like these, to do everything we can to call for justice, to call for a just peace, and to help co-create the world, the beloved community that Jesus aspired to live and embody, and that we too are called to participate in making. So go with that promise, go with that invitation, and see where it leads you this week. Look forward to seeing you on Sunday and of course next week for our postscript.